we go.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the December edition of the ServiceNow Tips and Tricks webinar. Today we have something new. We have a live studio audience. So say hi, live studio audience. Yay, woo! So I'm excited today because we're talking about, one of the features that we're talking about is a feature that we use pretty heavily on the ServiceNow team, which is visual task boards. So it's a way to manage our work, and we hope that it'll be useful for you guys as well. So we're also going to talk about reopening a resolved incident. So this right now, we're going to work to make this more visible, but right now it's kind of an inside secret that if you
spread.
We're trying to spread, exactly. And we're also going to talk about a new feature called Request Reminder, and it might be most useful for people who submit tickets, but you guys will probably like it as well. As usual, we'll take questions, so I'll be storing them up. You're welcome to type them in chat at any time. I'm going out of order.
That's okay.
We started by pretending to be a Verizon commercial there for a little while with our sound checking, but anyway, as usual, we have about 30 minutes of content today. We are recording the webinar, and we'll put it on the ServiceNow website. It usually takes a couple of days to get out there. Remember, you can use the Q&A box or the chat box, and we'll be monitoring that for your questions.
We're seeing the presenter.
So thanks, Alan. It says we're seeing the presenter view of the PowerPoint as part of the screen share. Okay. That looks better. Okay, thanks, Alan. Thanks for letting us know. So I wanted to mention that I'm hoping that most of you have seen the ServiceNow release notes that go out. So when we do a release, they usually go out, the releases are on Thursdays. Notes either go out on Thursday late or early Friday morning. We've been hearing that these are going to people's spam folders sometimes. So I just want you to know that to take a look to let you know that when to expect it, so you can go to your spam folder and see if it went there. But we kind of pull out the main changes that were released in the previous release. We talk about anything that we know about that's coming soon, just kind of trying to raise awareness. We have a tips and tricks section, and we would love to get your guys' input on tips and tricks that you're discovering. I mean, pretty soon you'll have discovered, 10 times the tricks that we have. So if you have some, just put them on Teams or send me an email, and we'll give you a shout out if we use it in our release notes email. There's also a in case you missed it section, which recaps some things that it's a lot of information that goes out in each release notes. So we'll recap some of the key things. So be on the lookout for those. If you haven't seen them, check your spam folder. Just a reminder that if you're not on Teams, please do join. We have a plan to start posting a little bit more regularly out on Teams. So we're going to start putting tips out there, but it's also, I love seeing that people post questions and then other people who are using ServiceNow answer those questions. It's not just the ServiceNow team. So it's a really good place to get to give your feedback and also get answers to questions. Just a reminder about the ServiceNow website. So we have been working on it, kind of trying to simplify it a little bit for the post-go-live kind of new structure, but there's a Learn More tab, and we're building out those resources there, so be sure to check that out. There's also a link, if you haven't joined Teams, there's a link on the homepage there that you can just click and join Teams right through that link. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Jones. Did we even introduce who was in the room?
No, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have Rebecca Jones from the Connect Carolina Change Management team, and we also have Allison Campbell, who is our star engagement team, webinar star, who's going to be presenting today as well. We're making her talk more today.
Thanks, Anita. So today we're going to start with this new feature called Request Reminder. And if you've ever gone out to help.unc.edu and you've clicked on the link up at the top of the screen that says My Requests, it'll take you to a screen that has a list of all of the requests that you or a customer have submitted. And when it comes to incident tickets, it'll give you a description of what the incident was. But when it comes to service requests, for example, look at this software order. I put in a request for a software order, but it doesn't say what it was. And maybe, a week or two has passed and I forgot. And since then I made another software order. I don't know which is which. There's another one down here at the bottom that says fulfiller to fulfiller service request. And it just gives you a number. It doesn't tell you what it actually was. So now this new feature, it is on the actual request form. It's down here at the bottom. It says request reminder. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. You can actually type in just a quick blurb to remind yourself what the service request was. And I believe right now they're not on all of the service requests, but they're on maybe 18 of them. They're definitely on the most popular item service requests, but probably by February, they'll hit all of them. So after you type in that request reminder, later on when you go back to look at your list of my requests, now for my fulfiller to fulfiller, it'll say this is a test ticket to show the new reminder feature. So or whatever you type in there is what will show. So just thought that was a nice little new feature that y'all would appreciate. I'm getting thumbs up in the room. All right, great.
And I think this was in response to, we heard from a lot of submitters who do submit requests for other people in particular. I mean, it's useful for anyone who needs to go out here, but we have some submitters who do, 10 or 15 requests to buy something or to, they're submitting for everyone in their department who doesn't want to go into ServiceNow to do it. So they'll have like a list of 15 or 20 of these. So it's really useful to say this is for Becky or this is for Allison. And anyway, so that's kind of where that.
Yeah. And it's a note to self, right? No one else can see it. It's personal.
Right. We almost called it note to self.
Oh,
that was its first name.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So the next thing we're going to talk about today is reopening a resolved ticket, but this is a customer reopening a resolved ticket. So when we, the fulfillers, mark the ticket resolved and send a note to the customer, they get an email that looks what you see on the screen here, that their support ticket has been resolved and it's automatically going to go in a closed state in 3 days if no additional action is taken on the ticket. But it doesn't really say in there how they can take action on that ticket. So as Anita said, this is a secret, which we need to get it out. This is what they can do to open it automatically without having to send you maybe a personal email or message a different way. If they just click reply to that email, and then in the subject line, it would currently say, your support ticket has been resolved. But if they take that out and put in, please reopen ticket, and they have to say please, because we're a polite university. I'm not even kidding. They literally have to say please, and they send it, the state of the ticket will automatically go back to in progress if it's within those 3 days. And that email will go into the activities log of that ticket. Now, how is a customer going to know that? It's nice if we all know that, but the customer currently doesn't know it. Maybe in the future, sometime soon, we're going to add something to that. Your ticket's been resolved, to reopen it, please type, please reopen in the reply email. But until then, if you could please communicate to your customer that their ticket's been resolved, and if they, if it's still not working for them and it needs to be reopened, that they should just reply, please reopen this ticket in the subject line. Maybe in your resolution notes, or if you do an additional comments, customer visible note, whatever, just let them know. That would be a great workaround until then. And another neat thing is, well, what if they respond to that ticket on the 4th day or the 5th day, and they respond to please reopen ticket? What it will do is it'll create a new incident ticket, but it will refer to or attach the original
It just puts the number in there. I think it says in relation.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact language, but
Related to,
Yeah.
and then it'll have the original incident ticket. So that's another really neat thing.
Yeah.
So any questions coming in on that?
not yet.
All right.
No.
I'll
And-
keep going, but no, go ahead.
Oh, just actually, you don't even have to clear the subject line. It apparently searches the subject line for that.
Type it at the end of it.
You can just add it to the end.
Oh, you can add it to the end.
Yeah.
Even better. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so visual task boards, the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to give you just a 10,000 foot view of it, a quick overview of visual task boards, and then Allison is going to give you an excellent demo. So a visual task board, what is it? It's a visual way to manage your work, and it's particularly useful for group or project work, for working on enhancements and managing backlogs. For those of you that are familiar with Kanban boards or Jira boards, I guess it's kind of like that. And the features of a board is that they all have lanes, and cards or tasks make up these lanes. And there's labeling features. You can even filter those cards by letters and numbers. And once you make a board, you can even share it with others. And how do you even get started? Allison will show you this, but if you want to just kind of see the steps written down, in the filter navigator, if you type in visual task board, then you can click the green button that says new, and then you'll choose a board. And the reason you'll choose from a board is because there's actually two types of boards you can choose from. One board is a freeform board, and those are completely manual. You have a lot of control with those boards, and you can make all the changes that you want with a freeform board. And the other type of board is a data-driven board. You have less control with that, and they're driven by a report or reports that you have created, and you can't really make so many changes at all to those. So Allison's going to show you those in just a second. So if you haven't ever seen a visual task board before, this is what one of them looks like. You can see up in the top left, there's a color key, and you can see who belongs to the board. I have masked a lot of data on this board, so I think there's a lot of other people that belong to this board. And if you really, really look at it, you might say, hey, there's some numbers missing in that rhythm, or it's because I blanked a lot of things out. Protect the innocent, right? So this is a visual task board. And within the board, we have lanes, and those lanes are made up of cards. And you can have one card in a lane, you can have 2 cards in a lane, you can have 20 cards in a lane. Each card will have a title, and you can change titles.
You can change the title.
We'll talk more about that? Okay.
Like,
But they will have a title, and if you need to add another card or add a task, that's down at the bottom. And I also mentioned that you can even filter, search for cards, and if I can just bring your eyes up to the top of the screen, more to the right, there is a little filter field. That's where you can type in alpha or numeric, so letters or numbers there to find your card. So what is on a card? A card will have a title, and it's a quick description of what's on the card. And the title will fill in automatically, but you can change it. And also, if you click anywhere on the card, it's going to pull up a preview. You may or may not find that too useful, but if the card is the ticket, down in the right corner, to see the actual ticket that maybe that card is related to, just click on the link in the lower right corner, and it will open up the record. Also, Allison and I found that it is limited to 1,000 cards. Did we determine 1,000 cards on a board? On a board. Okay, so you can have 1,000 cards in one lane.
sure could.
You sure could. Or you could.
Might not be as useful. as
Maybe
that.
not. You could probably best to spread that out, but 1,000 cards is the limit. So with all of that, I'm going to turn this over to Allison, and she is going to give you guys an excellent demo. And got it all set up here. There you go.
Okay, so I'm just going to navigate to visual task boards in the filter navigator. You just start typing in visual, it will probably come up. It's going to be under the self-service category. if you want to think of it that way. Click on that, and this is what you will probably see as your first page. You may not see these additional boards down here if you don't already have a board, but everybody should see this new button right here. When you click on that, that's when you're presented with the two different types of boards that Rebecca referred to, the Freeform board and the data-driven board. I'm going to just show you what a data-driven board looks like, but I'm actually going to just jump over to our board in just a minute for the demo. So when you click on data-driven board, you have to tell it which table you would like it to pull the records from. Catalog, task, and incident are probably pretty good options for you. If you're using the change management tool, you may also want to create a board for change tasks. I'm going to select catalog task, and then I'm selecting the lane field. So basically what I want to organize the lanes by. So I'm going to choose assigned to. This is a fairly common use case that you guys might. I don't think your trackpad likes me very much. Sorry. So I'm going to click the next button. And then I'm going to add one additional criteria because as you see, that is a lot of cards. And that will not fit on a board. So we need to give it some additional parameters. So I'm going to choose the drop down here, and I'm just going to type in assignment. I'm looking for assignment group, and I'm going to choose our, I can type right, ServiceNow group. And I'm going to just click create. You can obviously add additional criteria here as well. This is that same filter criteria that you're probably familiar with for creating list views, but this is all we're going to start with. And I click create. It's going to take a second. Or more than a few seconds.
Is it because we're in the basement?
Maybe. I don't know if I've ever seen it take that long.
Don't say that.
I can pull up one that we already have if need be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not good. All right.
Oh, there you
Yay.
go.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, I think
You
it
were
was
on webinar time. It's always
Yeah.
like, takes 10 times as long.
Yeah, I think I know why that happened. So as you guys can see, there's a little yellow banner up here that says this board has exceeded the card limit. I should have given it some additional parameters for like open status or something like that. We have had more than 1,000 cards assigned to that, or 1,000 records assigned to that assignment group. So that would be why that took long. But a good demo of that message. So it's basically truncated the list. So don't do what I just did. Give it some additional parameters if you think you have a lot of catalog tasks or incidents in your assignment group. But as you can see, it created a catalog tasks by assigned to guided board. If I wanted to, I could change this name. And it basically put all of the tasks in the assignment group into the lanes based on who's assigned to. We have a very large no assigned to category because we use this as our backlog and we don't assign things out to folks unless we're doing active work on them. So as you can see, it's got everyone within the group. You can see all those names up here as well. So that is just how you would go about creating a data-driven board.
Just to chime in, so basically what's nice about this is you don't have to manage these lanes.
Correct.
It's just going to show you the latest status of all of those. I think it's handy.
Yeah, so whenever you get a catalog task assigned to the group, you would see it show up in no assigned to. Once somebody is assigned to it, it's going to automatically go over to their lane. So it's just a different way to manage the work that's coming into your group that you may already be doing in a list, but now you can see it in this more visual sense.
And you can click on these and open them up and work with them. So it's, I like it because it's a handy way to get at your work.
Exactly. Especially if you are maybe at all frustrated by the fact that you can't always see a ton of information on a list view about the tasks that might be assigned to you. As you can see here, you see a lot more information for each of the records. we have any questions about that?
Yes.
Oh, question in the room.
Is it still the case that this is the only way that we can view if there's an attachment to the record? So the last time I inquired, it wouldn't show up in any result list or any table view, but I did see that when I set up my own task boards that I can see that there is an attachment. And so far, that's the only way I've been able to see if a record has an attachment without having to go back up.
Are you actually seeing a little attachment icon
Yes.
on a card?
Yes.
Interesting. I don't know that I've noticed that. And I think that is correct, though. I don't believe there's a way you can see that within a list view. So,
Can you
Helpful
repeat the
tip.
question?
It's very, I mean,
so the question was, is this the only way that you can see if there's an attachment on a record? And I believe that is the case. You can't currently see that in a list view, not to my knowledge anyway. And Vale is in the room, and she said on a guided board that she has, she can actually see a little like paperclip icon noting that there's an attachment on a card. So good tip.
Anybody has a different experience, would you post on Teams and we'll get the word out? We'll put it in a knowledge article or something. So thanks, Ann, that was good.
Okay, so I'm going to jump back. And I'm just going to click on New and Freeform to show you what you get with a just Freeform board. So it didn't ask me any criteria. It just created a completely blank board. It creates 3 separate lanes for you by default: to do, doing, and done. You can change these if you want to by just clicking in that field and updating the text. You can also click on the 3 dots on the right and hide a lane if you would like to do that, or delete a lane. It's pretty simple. Adding a lane is as simple as that. And I've currently got only 1 member in this board. I'm using Rebecca's computer, so that's why it has Rebecca's name up here. But if I wanted to maybe add Anita to this board because it's one I want to work with her on, I can click this little user icon in the upper right and click add members. Just type in Anita's name and she's automatically added. She would now see this visual task board show up in her list of boards that she has access to when she clicks on visual task boards. If for some reason I needed to remove Anita, that's how that happens. I'm going to add her back real quick.
So Allison, if you add me, can I make changes to this board, or is it
Yes.
you only?
You can make changes to it. If I click this icon though, I believe, oh yeah, it's just showing that you are part of the filter now. So that wasn't actually what I was trying to show. So I'm gonna click this, I'm gonna click this arrow right here. Yeah, okay, that's the only management you really have, is just removing and adding people. You don't have any ability to give them just read-only access or anything like that. They get access to use the board.
Okay.
Same way that whoever created it does. They cannot remove members. I guess maybe that's the only
Okay.
difference. All right, so there are a couple of other icons up here. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I do want to touch on this guy. It kind of looks like a tag, and you'll notice that there are these labels already up here. So if I click on this label icon, it's going to show all of the labels that we have access to. You can turn a label off by doing that. You can change the name of a label if you would like to. You have a little bit of control there. You cannot add additional labels at this point. So this set of 7 is kind of what you get to work with. And I'll show you what that actually looks like by adding a label to my other board in just a few minutes. All right, there is, I guess, a shortcut way to jump back and forth to boards if you click on this little icon. So if you have multiple boards that you are working with, you can just click that and jump to them. If you click the back button, it's just also going to show you that same list as well. This is just how you would change the title, and that would be reflected in your list of visual task boards as well. So this is just the basics of how to manage a Freeform board outside of adding tasks to them. Any questions? Okay, so at the bottom of each lane, you'll see an add task button. This actually isn't the way we add them to our board, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But if you wanted to create a completely new task, you can do that by clicking that.
And so what kind of task is it creating right then?
It's going to create a catalog task, I think, but it's going to be one of those standalone, isn't associated with a request or anything task. So use that at your own discretion. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to our Freeform board that we use all the time. Okay, so at the top, you'll see several people within our group are members of that board. They all have access to this. They all can move things around and remove things if they need to. So we have this kind of set up in a way where we dump everything into our uncategorized bucket first. And then when we are actually doing our prioritization of what is going into our next release cycle, we drag tasks over to the appropriate lanes that we've created. Our lanes change fairly frequently. We always have lanes for a couple of past release cycles and the future release cycles so that we know what we're have worked on and or is in progress and are going to be working on soon. And then we have other buckets, if you will, for things that we know we need to categorize together for prioritization purposes. So just to give you a little idea into how we do this in ServiceNow world, like we have one lane for new service requests. So every time we get a request to create a new catalog item, we put that task here. You see that we have 9 of those right now. So these evolve a lot. We found that using this manual board is easier for our purposes than a data-driven board, but it is a little bit more work to use something like this because you are manually moving things around, manually adding things to lanes. Okay. So I'm actually going to, might be adding one of your tasks.
That's good.
Okay.
They're probably all fake anyway.
Okay, yep. We're gonna use this testing one right here. So I'm just gonna demonstrate how we end up adding things to the visual task board that we have so you guys can see how to do that from a record. I'm gonna click on this service catalog task, and in the top gray bar, you can either click the hamburger icon. I just usually right click. There is an add to visual task board option. We click that and then select the prioritization buckets board. Actually go back this way. All right, and you see that that's just been added to our uncategorized lane. It's going to add it to the farthest left lane. So make sure if you're using this in the same type of method, whatever your farthest left lane is your uncategorized or backlog bucket.
So don't name it finished.
Correct. Do not name
Wouldn't that
that.
be nice?
Do not name that lane finished. Not a good idea. So if I was ready to go ahead and put this into a different lane, I just hold my mouse down and drag it over. Say I needed to update the title. As Rebecca said earlier, if I click anywhere on this card, it's going to show this kind of preview version. When you add a service catalog task to a board, the title defaults to whatever the short description of the catalog task is. But if that may not be helpful information, you can change this to whatever you would like it to be.
But it doesn't change the short description, right? It's
Right.
only for the task
Right.
board.
You're just changing the title on the visual task board. You're not necessarily changing the short description of the actual task. So as you see, it kind of gives you this much smaller version of a service catalog task. You can put a work note update or additional comment in here, but you don't necessarily see all of the details that you may in the actual task. So I'll show you what that looks like now. So to fully open the record that you've added, you do have to kind of hover over the record number in the bottom right-hand corner and click on that. It's going to maintain your visual task board in the background, but it will open up the full record view. And you can jump up to the, this is a standalone task, okay. Where's my rhythm number? So if this had a requested item associated with it, I'd be able to jump up to the requested item here and just work out of this view while maintaining my visual task board in the background. So if I update that, it's just going to jump me back here. That is, I think, all.
If you want to ever remove a card or task.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So if you need to remove a task like this testing 2.01 because it's not in the sprint release, you just have to hover over the right or upper right, it's right, corner and click archive, and it will be removed from the lane that it's on.
Is there a way to get back archived tasks? Nope. Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. There's not a way to get a archived task back other than going back out and pulling it back in.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you remove that task or that card, it doesn't necessarily close that ticket or anything. You're just removing it from the board.
Correct. Yeah. So Rebecca wanted to clarify that if you remove it from the board, it doesn't actually close the task at all. It's just removing it from the view you're looking at.
So we do have a question.
Okay.
So the question is there any sort of Gantt chart feature?
Nope.
Not for visual task board.
Not for visual task board. Yeah, this is not, so there is a project portfolio management module within ServiceNow. Visual task boards is not a piece of that module. That module does have a Gantt chart view, so yeah. I do want to show just how the filter works because I don't think I actually showed that. So I'm going to filter on the word Tableau because I see it in one of the cards here and just show you what that looks like if I can spell it right. So it basically just puts a filter on everything I'm looking at and shows me that one card, two cards. You can filter on a specific rhythm or task number as well if you have that. All right, so that is all I really wanted to demo. Any more questions?
Not yet.
I don't.
So we'll kind of wrap up and give you a minute. So if you can think of another question, feel free to go ahead and type that in. But I just want to mention again that if you start using visual task boards and come up with some tips for us, please post them on Teams. We would love to hear it, and we'll put it in the release notes email if we think others can benefit from your tip. And that applies to anything that you discover on ServiceNow. We would love to share those tips with others. So if you're not on Teams, remember that you can go to the ServiceNow website, and on the home page, there's a link there that lets you basically just click the link and it signs you up for our Teams site. So please do that if you haven't done that already. And then as a reminder, please start including instructions for how to reopen tickets in your incidents when you close your incident or resolve your incidents. Put those instructions in there, and we're going to try to get it added to the text for the notification. But in the meantime, if you guys would help us out there, we would appreciate it. Okay, that's all the tap dancing I can do. No questions. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to our live studio audience. And we will see you probably in January. We'll also look for some new activities. We're going to get our calendar updated for the new year here shortly. So we'll see you in January. Have a great holiday, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon.